Hello and welcome to Edupedia World. So, in the last video, did we go through how we can set up a camera at a depth of field, and also how we can create this cool morphing camera that basically, through some positions of some other cameras, can animate and create this very cool look right here. I even animated the position, and we have now got an animation that we can render out to our computer. So when I mean render, I mean the computer will go through each of these 500 frames, and it will render it out and save it as 500 individual images. So how do we do that? We click on this edit render settings, and we will choose adaptive, and then we will choose the quality we want. So I'll just choose low because I don't want to spend my whole the whole next year rendering this animation. So let's just remove all of this, start from scratch. We can first go into the output, and then we can change, of course, just change the width and the height. This is full HD. There are a lot of presets. I'll just choose something very simple like 640 by 480 because, or maybe a bit larger, 800 by 600. I don't want to spend that much time rendering. I usually do full 1080, but it's just too much right now. You can see this all very self-explaining. The resolution 72 dots per inch. You can also see we've got this film aspect. See, you can do all these different aspects. HD TV, that's a normal screen size. Film, widescreen, and also Panavision, like the real cinemas and stuff. Then if you're doing a animation, you're going to want to change the frame range. So right now we are just going to render out the current frame, but that is not what we want. We could render out all the frames. There will be 500 frames. That would take 1 billion years for my computer. So I'll actually just limit this to something like from frame 200. Let's find frame 200, and then to frame 240. And the frame step, just leave that at 1. That means it's going to render every single frame. So this is just the render settings that shows how the image needs to be. Then in the save tab right here, we can basically choose where to save the image. So since we're just saving an image, this is going to be what we want. We are not doing anything like multipass, so we're just going to save. So this is basically just telling Cinema 4D where to save this. So I will make a folder called robotic arm, enter, go into this and call it robotic arm, use underscores instead of spaces, robotic arm. I will save it as a JPEG. I will choose 8 bits per channel since it's the only option, and then you can choose how it's going to name them. I'll just do this standard one, it doesn't really matter in my opinion. So how do we render? There's no button called just render this out, and that's because you're going to have to use this button instead. This is the render to picture viewer, and if I click this, you're going to see it open up this picture viewer, and it's actually going to go through. You can see the timeline down here. It's starting from 200 and it's ending at 240. That means it's going through an animation right now and actually rendering every single frame. So you can see all the frames that it has rendered are being put into this folder called robotic arm, as I named it, and it's now being rendered out. Another thing I forgot to mention is that if you do Control D, you're able to change the FPS, the frames per second of your project. This is by default set to 30 frames per second, and that's a kind of a bummer for me because I live in Europe and we usually use 24, and that's also what all my cameras shoot. So also in the output settings you're able to change the frame rate. If you want to change the frame rate, you're gonna have to change it both places, otherwise it's not going to work properly. So enough about that. I will just render this in 30 frames per second, and here we go. We can see it, since it's pretty low resolution, it's rendering it very quickly. We can go to the first frame and we can actually start watching this. You can see the crane is moving, and it's basically showing each frame step by step by step, and in the end we've got this cool animation. So you can follow it along right here. Watch how it's moving the crane step by step. I'll actually just let this finish rendering and we will jump into After Effects where we will composite this. So right now we're getting to the end of this render. As you can see, it has, all in all, it has spent almost just around 3 minutes, and just so you know, that is an extremely quick render. I have spent 50, 60, 100, 200 hours just rendering one single project. It's absolutely insane. I've spent just weeks and weeks rendering on these kind of projects, so being able to only use 3 minutes, that's a big thing. So what you'll notice is that when you render, your computer is going to get very slow, and that's very normal because rendering takes almost all of the processing power of your computer. That is why you see large companies like Pixar, all those huge companies using extremely large servers when they're doing the big VFX, because small computers like mine, they are simply not able to do the task. So if we just open up a folder, find our images where we saved them, you'll see that Cinema 4D has written out 41, or actually just 40 pictures. These can then be added into After Effects. So I'll just open up After Effects right here. We can import them to File, find them, Robotic Arm. I know we have already done this if you have watched all my videos. So you'll pick the first image and you will choose JPEG sequence. That means they are going to take all, After Effects is going to take all these pictures and make them into a video clip. You can see it's called Robotic Arm 200 to 240. You can drop it into a new composition and press 0, and we will see our first 3D animation. And as you can see, it's not high quality, it's not this and that, there's a bit of grain, all that stuff, but that's because we only spent 3 minutes rendering this. Right now I will go into Cinema 4D and actually set up a very high quality render. So let me jump out of this camera, let me delete the morph camera because this is just going to be one single picture. I will move this around. I will choose screen. Let's do just full HD. It's not going to get any better if I choose something larger. I'll do current frame. I'll save it as a TIFF for PSD, that means Photoshop, and I'll do 32 bits. Then I'll go into the physical tab and I'll choose just progressive right now. The reason I choose progressive is because I want to actually first find my angle. So I will see what fits my liking. I will go in here and set this to something like 70 in like focal length. Go to the physical tab, put this down to like 3. It's not focusing at the right point. Make sure that we have got some blur here in the background, and we obviously do. So I think this is going to be a pretty nice angle from right here. Just do a last preview render before I let it go. So I will go into this and put it to adaptive once again. Put the sample quality to high. And I will save this somewhere else. So I'll just save it right here. Robotic arm, high res. There we go. Click right here, and I will set it to render. So as you can see, this takes a lot more time. I guess that this will take around, I don't know, 10 minutes to finish up rendering, and I will meet you guys then. So now back with the image. So this is the full HD high-res image that I rendered out, and as you can see, we can get a lot of details. We've got a bit of realism. We didn't do this to look realistic, it's just like a kind of realistic cartoon look. You can see something that makes it look very nice is like these reflections, and also the reflection in this metal right here makes it look that much more realistic. So this was just take around 5 to 6 minutes to render this, and if you made a whole animation of this, it would of course take a long time, but you would get a very nice result. So that's about it for the render setup. Yep.
Thank you for watching Edupedia World. Stay tuned for more videos.